now we will start our first machine learning algorithm today. So let me show the output first. See, this is the output that I am expecting. So what is the algorithm name? First I will tell you. The algorithm name is K-means clustering. And if you observe this output carefully, you will be able to see that we have three groups. One is in red, which is labeled as Irish Setosa. One is in green, which is labeled as Irish Virginica. And one is in blue, which is known as Irish versicolor. Now see, we have one more black dots too. Now what is this black dots? So these black dots are known as centroid. So whatever algorithm we are going to learn today, it is known as K-means clustering algorithm. So before understanding this algorithm, you have to understand 3 points about this algorithm. The first point is it is all about clustering algorithm. So we have to understand what is the concept of clustering in machine learning. Second point that we have to understand that this algorithm is based on centroid selection. Means first the black dots will be selected, then according to the black dot reference, the rest of the data set will be grouped together. So what is the basis on which we are creating the group? So this is the second observation that we have to understand. And the third thing, we have to understand that what kind of algorithm it is. Supervised, unsupervised, or semi-supervised, or reinforcement learning. So we have 4 kinds of learning mechanism in machine learning. So the kind of algorithm, what kind of algorithm it is, so we have to understand this 3 points. So this is our main objective. So I think it is clear that this is our final output of K-means clustering that we are expecting from our dataset. So we are going to group this one. Grouping. So now the very first question, why we need this kind of, see, this kinds of grouping are very important because it will able us to understand how many kinds of species or observations we have. Means how many similar kind of observations we have in our data set. So first I will start from the concept of clustering. So what is this concept of clustering in machine learning? So this is the first concept that I'm going to explain. So this clustering is also known as cluster analysis. So this clustering or cluster analysis is a machine learning technique. So these are the ML techniques that we are talking about, which basically groups the unlabeled dataset. So in the beginning of the class, I have given you one description what is this unlabeled dataset is all about. Means unlabeled dataset means we can say that it is a way of grouping the data points into different cluster consisting of similar points without knowing its label. So what is this label? So now if you see the Irish dataset, this column is used for labeling purpose, which indicates the type of species we have in our dataset. So whenever we apply our K-means clustering algorithm, this algorithm will only consider these 4 features. It will not consider the label feature. Now you ask me another question, okay, so that's why I'm talking about this algorithm is working on only unlabeled data as it is not considering this label column. But what is the need of this label column then? So can we remove it? So here the concept is this label column is mandatory. Why? Because after finding the cluster, means K-means clustering algorithm will use its own mechanism to group its species into 2 cluster, 3 cluster according to its own knowledge. Later on, to assess the performance of this algorithm, means how accurate this algorithm is, means whether it will be able to classify this 3 species properly or not. So this accuracy assessment is performed on the basis of this labeled column. So basically, the first point is K-means clustering will work on unlabeled data. That is, this column where we have the class level, this column will not be explored while executing the algorithm. But at the end of the algorithm, how accurate the grouping is, it is assessed by this column, that is the label column. So this is the significance of using this label column. So this is the first step towards K-means clustering. So that's why I was talking about this K-means clustering is working on unlabeled data, right? So now the question is, the biggest question is how it will group the data, means what mechanism it is using to group all the data points. Means we know that it will group Setosa together, then versicolor together, and then virginica together. So what is the mechanism it is using? So in one word, we can say that it is an unsupervised clustering mechanism. Why it is an unsupervised clustering mechanism? Because while grouping the data set, it is not taking the help of the label column. So it is doing this grouping by its own mechanism. That's why it is an unsupervised learning mechanism. Supervised learning mechanism means whenever we are using the labeled column for performing any classification activity. It is just like a teacher. So whenever a teacher is teaching you a course and then you are learning something from that course, it is known as supervised mechanism. There is one supervisor who is supervising about some specific lecture and then you are learning. So supervising about some specific lecture means this is the label column. And sometimes you are forced to do some kind of self-learning. So at that point of time, there is an absence of supervisor. Supervisor is not helping you, but you are learning by some special technique invented by your own. So this kind of mechanism is known as unsupervised learning, where labeled column is not being explored. Only you are extracting the features and you are applying some mechanism. So that's why this K-means clustering algorithm is one of the important stepping stone where the supervisor is not there. So it is an unsupervised mechanism. So that's why understanding this mechanism is very much important. So in one word, it is an unsupervised learning method and hence no supervision is provided to the algorithm and it deals with unlabeled dataset. So this is the first point that I am going to establish. So now after applying this clustering technique, each cluster or group is provided with a cluster ID. So basically machine learning system can use this ID to simplify the processing of large and complex dataset. So before going into the more details, what we will do, first we will focus on the concept of cluster. Means human mind how creates cluster. Then we will able to understand how this algorithm is working. So in general, one word you have to understand what is the real life applicability of this clustering. So in general, this clustering technique is used for statistical data analysis. This is the one most important application of clustering. So I want to tell you one note that clustering is somewhere very much similar to the classification algorithm. And sometimes people will use this concept interchangeably, but the difference is the type of data set that we are using. This thing you have to keep in mind. So classification and clustering, they are not same concept. They differs in on what kind of data set they are operating on. In classification, we work with the labeled data set. This is the first point. However, in clustering, we work with unlabeled datasets. So this is the basic difference between classification algorithm and clustering algorithm. So whenever you are using this word, using machine learning algorithm, you have to be very cautious, because what kind of algorithm you are using, it is totally dependent on what kind of data set you are operating. Now there is another confusion that may arise. Now you can ask me one question. Okay ma'am, we got the idea. Today we are learning clustering. Fine. Means it will work on unlabeled dataset. Means it will only explore the features. But this dataset is labeled dataset. So why you are using it? See, the basic difference is, if I am employing classification algorithm, to execute that classification algorithm, from the beginning I will explore all the columns. But if I am exploring clustering algorithm, then at the beginning of this algorithm, means when the algorithm is executing, at this point of time we are only exploring the features. We are not using the last or the labeled column. So this labeled column will only used for accuracy checking purpose. So if the question is asked, so what is the difference between classification and clustering? So this is the basic difference. So if you have unlabeled data set, at that point of time you can use clustering. But if you have labeled data set, then also you can use clustering. But while doing the algorithm, leave the label column. So this is the basic concept. See, try to understand. This is the general intention of the people, that they will use two terms interchangeably, clustering and classification. Why? Because both concept deals with grouping of data. But we have some basic difference. What is the difference? The first difference is, both the algorithm works on different kinds of data. Clustering works on unlabeled data and classification works on labeled data. Now, whenever I state this basic difference, then you will ask me one question. Okay, that we are learning clustering algorithm. Fine. According to my definition, clustering algorithm will not deal with this label part, label data. So why I am using label data? Because the entire data set is a label data. We know that because we have the class level over here in this column. So here my point is, the meaning of clustering that works on unlabeled data is, for executing any clustering algorithm, we will only explore the features. We will not touch the column, or we will not use the column for executing the algorithm for clustering. So for clustering, we will use only these four parts. We will not use this one. Now you will again ask me this question. Okay, you are not using it, the label part, so why you are keeping it? So my answer is, why I am keeping it, because after completion of the algorithm, it will give me some group. Now I have to verify that how accurate this algorithm it is. Accuracy means, see, we have 50 Setosa, 50 versicolor and 50 virginica. So I have to check whatever cluster it is making, in each and every cluster we have 50 species together or not. So for finding the final accuracy, we need this label column for clustering. But for executing the clustering algorithm, we don't need this label column. That's why each time you will find me stating that clustering algorithm works on unlabeled data. However, whenever I teach you the classification algorithm, again we will group the species together. But at that point of time, from the beginning of the algorithm, I will use all the attributes along with the label attribute. So for classification, we have to use features plus the labeled attribute. So this is the basic difference between clustering and classification. So now I am giving you a very good example that we will use the term cluster in real life, means how we can use this term. See, if you ask me this question, that what do you mean by cluster in real life? So let's understand the cluster technique with some shopping mall kind of example. Say I'm taking an example of, say, mall. So when we visit any shopping mall, we can observe, say I'm visiting any shopping mall, and we will observe that in the shopping mall, similar usage, or the thing which have the similar usage on the basis of similar utility, or we can say that usage, the things are grouped together. Means such as the t-shirts are grouped in one section, trousers at the another section. So similarly at the vegetable section also we will have a section of apple, banana, mangoes, etc. So all these are grouped in separate sections so that we can easily find out the things. So the clustering technique also works on the same way. So this is the basic concept of cluster. So the cluster technique can be widely used in various kind of activities such as, so from this discussion we can say that it can be used for market segmentation. This is the one application. To find out what are the separate kinds of market segments we have in real life. Or the second one is statistical data analysis, where we can use this clustering concept. Social network analysis, this is the research area many people are working on this. So this is known as social network analysis. Here also you can use clustering algorithm. Image segmentation, this is the one of the brilliant application of clustering, because on the basis of some property we can segment the image. Means if we have the image of, say, we have a house, we have sun, we can segment all those image on the basis of some property using this kind of algorithm. And nowadays people are using this clustering algorithm in anomaly detection. Any kind of problem detection, dispute detection is easily done by this clustering algorithm. So therefore this clustering algorithm has enormous application in real life. But you have to understand one more point. So whenever I am talking about that, we are talking about K-means clustering algorithm, it does not imply that we have only one kind of clustering algorithm in machine learning, K-means. So before applying any clustering algorithm, first you have to understand your data set. Then only you can decide what kind of algorithm you can use. K-means is a very basic type of algorithm, and also you have to understand it is not applicable for all kind of applications. It has some limited application. But before going into the details, I want to share you one very much efficient analysis that can be performed by clustering. Nowadays everybody is using it. So apart from this shop market kind of example, nowadays we can find a very good example of cluster application. That is in Amazon. In Amazon we know that we have one recommendation system. So recommendation system, why we use this? So Amazon uses recommendation system to provide recommendation as per the past search products. So whatever product you have searched in past, according to that the recommendation will be changed. So say in Netflix also uses the same technique. So we know that what is Netflix. So Netflix also uses the technique to recommend the movies and web series to its user as per the watch history. So they are the typical example of machine learning algorithm. Means Netflix, Amazon both are using this clustering algorithm for this type of activity, right? So what happens exactly? So whenever you are watching some specific set of web series, say crime, thriller, so these are considered as, say, raw data for Netflix, and they will employ this classification algorithm over here, then according to this algorithm they will find what kind of specific categories of movie you are watching. So this one is crime, this one is thriller, this one is suspense, like this. So these are the output, and see, these outputs are based on the type of movie or type of web series you are watching. So these are the example of clustering. So these are known as clusters of web series, right? So this is the basic application of clustering that we are using nowadays, means Netflix and Amazon is using nowadays. But before going into more details, we have to understand what kind of clustering is suitable. See, whenever I'm talking about that Netflix is using clustering, it does not imply that Netflix is using K-means clustering. No, Amazon is using K-means clustering. They can use any other clustering algorithm also. So first you have to understand the essence or the type of the clustering algorithm which are available in case of machine learning. So this is the most important point that you have to pay attention to this, and then only you will understand in which category this K-means clustering is falling. It is falling in which category. So basically we are talking about types of clustering. So here the clustering methods, we can say that they are broadly divided into two parts. One is known as hard clustering and another one is known as soft clustering. So what is the meaning of hard clustering? See, I am not going into the definition. See, hard clustering means whichever data points we are having, this data points belongs to only one group. Means whenever we are creating a group of cluster, it means, say we have several data points, and by using this clustering algorithm we have decided that this data point should belongs to this cluster, this data point should belongs to this cluster, and this data point should belongs to this cluster. So once the data point and its cluster is decided, there is no chance that this data point can also be a part of this cluster. So there is no chance. So this kind of clustering technique is known as hard clustering. So once the data point has got its own cluster, so there is no chance of that data point to belong to any other kind of cluster. But we have another technique of clustering which is known as soft clustering. Means a data point can belong to another group also. So this kind of clustering, you can tell that it's a fuzzy clustering. So in the real world, what happens, it is not about 0 or 1. Means either a data point belongs to a cluster or it is not belong to that cluster. We have some situations. See, if you want to create some cluster on the basis of weather analysis, it may happen there exists some data point, means some weather, where it may be a part of partial humidity state, or it can be also part of, say, humid climate also. So there exists some situation where a particular data point may be a part of more than one cluster. So this type of clustering is known as soft clustering. So data points can belong to another group of cluster also, or another group also. So but there are also other various approaches of cluster that exist. So I will mention some specific overall types of cluster which are very much significant in case of machine learning. So the first kind of clustering is known as partitioning clustering. So what is this partitioning clustering is all about? See, again I will tell that it is a type of clustering that main objective is, this kind of clustering divides the data points into non-hierarchical group. Means, in one word I can say that partition based clustering means it is a centroid based method, right? Means first it aims at creating the centroid. Why? Because cluster means some group of data. Grouping of data means we are going to form this kind of shape. So if the centroid is decided, then we can pick one point and we can find out this point, how far this point is from the centroid. So if this point is near to this centroid, then we can say that this point should belongs to this cluster, because this point is near to the centroid means this point has some similar feature with this centroid. So this point should come to this cluster. So partition based clustering means this kind of clustering works on centroid based method. So selecting centroid is one of the main objective of this kind of clustering. And K-means clustering falls in this category. So in one word, what is K-means clustering algorithm? The first point is it is an unsupervised clustering algorithm as it is not exploring the label column while execution. Second, it is definitely a partition based clustering algorithm as it first searches for the centroid and then it will create the cluster. So it is following the centroid based application, then we can say that it's a partition based clustering. So that's why. So these are the 2 points that you have to keep in mind in case of K-means clustering. And today we are totally focusing on partition based clustering. Right? So we have another kinds of clustering too, that is density based clustering, distribution model based clustering, where we have to follow some Gaussian distribution, and we have hierarchical clustering too. So today I'm not going into that details. So we are only concentrating on partition based clustering, which is the K-means clustering. Now I will give you a very brief overview about this K-means clustering. So before going into the details that K-means clustering, how it works, I'm just telling you one point. If I ask you this question, that is, okay, tell me, K-means clustering, is it a hard clustering or soft clustering? How can you justify it? So this is the data set on which I'm going to operate. So now I'm going to apply K-means clustering on this data set. So here my point is, so we will get the output. So this is the output of the K-means clustering algorithm. Now tell me one point, what kind of clustering it is? We have Setosa, versicolor and Virginica in one cluster, in 3 different clusters. Is it a hard cluster or soft cluster? Hard clustering, right? Because once it is a Setosa, it never be a versicolor or Virginica. Again, there is another conclusion. So which kind of clustering algorithm you have to use, hard or soft, it again depends on data set. So whenever we are classifying any flower, any mushroom or any protein based thing, so it will be a part of hard clustering, right? If I am using this clustering algorithm on disease detection, then what kind of clustering it is and why? If I am applying clustering algorithm on cancer detection, we may have some data points which may be a part of advanced stages of class 1 and initial stage of class 2. It may happen. So at that point of time, we have to use soft clustering. So I think the conclusion is clear. Again, the data set is responsible for understanding that which kind of algorithm we should use, soft or hard clustering. Okay. So now go back to the discussion, that is K-means clustering. So I'm just first giving you one overview. In this type of clustering, means whenever talking about K-means clustering, Why it is known as K-means? So K is the number. So basically the data set on which we are working, that is our CSV file. So on the data set that we are working on, so this data set is basically divided into a set of K groups. This is the first point. So from this statement, the complexity increases. So the first question should come in our mind: how many groups should be there? How can we justify? How can we know? Because whenever we are starting this algorithm, our aim is to create K groups. Now see, at the beginning of this algorithm, I have stated that it is not going to use the label. So whenever this label column is not known to us, so we are only dealing with features. So if you have only feature part, then how can you understand that how many divisions should be there in my data set, right? So finding the value of K, see what should be the number of groups this algorithm will give us, so we have no idea. So here you have to keep in mind, though the intention of this algorithm to divide the dataset into the K group, finding K value is difficult. So as a programmer, the main difficulty of this algorithm is we have to supply this K value. So if you don't know about the dataset, again it is a unlabeled dataset, so we have to perform some hit and trial method. So we will supply some K value like 2, 3, 4, 5, means these are the groups or clusters we are expecting. Then after supplying this value, by visualizing the accuracy of the final output, then we will understand which value we should keep. So this is the one point you have to keep in mind. So before stating the algorithm, you have to be very clear. Finding the K value in K-means clustering, means what should be the number of groups. Initially, it is very difficult to find. So sometimes programmer will pick some random value. Otherwise, we have two mechanisms, what is known as elbow method and another one is known as Silhouette method. These two methods are also used to find the value of K. So try to understand this point. K means clustering, means there will be K number of groups, K number of clusters, but it is not known to us how many clusters should be there. Right? So since we know about the Irish flower, so we know that there will be 3 groups. But if you have any unlabeled data in real life where you don't know what is the number of groups, so you have to start from the arbitrary number of the cluster value or K. So this is the main disadvantage that we have whenever we are using K-means clustering algorithm. But you can ask me another question. Okay, you have this disadvantage, so why you are using this one? So you can use any other technique because we have many clustering algorithm, but try to understand. I'm giving you a very beautiful application of this K-means clustering algorithm in real life. See, whenever we see Google Earth image, so these are the satellite image, right? So whenever you are dealing with any satellite image, it will be very hard or very difficult for us to identify between a river and a road. Also, which part is the population part and which part is the industry part, we will not be able to differentiate. So whenever we are visualizing the satellite data, we are just observing some kind of shape in the satellite image. So at that point of time, we have no idea which one is river, which one is road, because everything is a curved line. So at that point of time, this kind of dataset will behave like unlabeled dataset. So at that point of time, whenever you are applying K-means clustering algorithm, due to its very strong mechanism, it will find out some kind of groups, that which is your river, which is road, which is population, which is vegetation. This kind of segregation, this kind of cluster, it will give you an overall idea. So from this idea, it's a basic idea that you are achieving from K-means clustering. Later, to improve this idea further, now you have got the idea, so you just mark this one. So this is your population, this is your vegetation, this is your river, this is your road. Now this data set will become a labeled one. Then only you can use classification algorithm on it, and then you will get a proper output. So to start with, whenever you have no idea about your data set, K-means clustering algorithm is very much efficient. And though it is a very ancient kind of clustering algorithm, nowadays also people are using K-means clustering algorithm for their research. And I can tell you that my recent publication in the month of July, in that application also I have used K-means clustering algorithm first, and then I will be able to apply deep learning neural networks. So this is the one of the most significant algorithm that we are going to learn. So this is the basic applicability of K-means clustering algorithm. So I know that now you are very much interested about this algorithm, means how this algorithm will work. So this algorithm has very simple steps. So if you follow these steps carefully, then you will be design the K-means clustering algorithm. But before starting these steps, before explaining the steps, I want to tell you one word. Even if I omit these steps, then also you will be able to apply the K-means clustering algorithm. Means, see, in the actual coding, there is no steps. I have just called some K-means clustering algorithm function, right? And for that purpose, I have imported a particular file, that is K-means, or imported some particular class K-means from this sklearn.cluster, right? So understanding the algorithm step is not important or not evident for designing the code, because Python is very much efficient. The code is already written, you just explode the library or the function. But to understand the output of this K-means clustering algorithm, you have to understand the algorithmic steps. That's why writing a code is not difficult in Python. You can copy paste it. It's a ready-made code. And if you see this code, you will be able to understand from the common sense what is happening where. Which part is used for displaying purpose and which part is actual implementation of the algorithm, and which libraries are created or supporting this algorithm. But to understand or to explode or to explain the output, you have to understand the details of this algorithm. So that's why before going into the code details, I'm just exploring the algorithm steps. So this thing you have to keep in mind. This concept is applicable for each and every machine learning code in Python. So now, what are the basic steps in case of K-means clustering algorithm? So according to this algorithm, the very basic steps are: first, you have to find out the number of clusters or the number of groups that you are going to form. Then there is one part, as it is a partition based algorithm, so then is another part, you have to find out the number of centroids. And this centroid selections, how it is performed, so I have to tell you this one. And then this algorithm will be worked as repetitive manner to adjust the centroid. So let's start from the step 1. So what is the step 1? So step 1 means we have to choose a value for k, and also we have to select centroid. So I'm just telling you this one. So the first step of K-means clustering is to determine the value of k, that is the number of cluster you want to group your dataset into. So I need 3 cluster, I need 4 cluster, I need 5 cluster, whatever number of cluster you need as an output, this must be set previously. And then since it is a partition based approach, so you have to start with some centroid value. So now how this centroid is selected? See, centroid selection means what it will do, you can do for the initial step. The centroid in the K-means clustering is selected initially randomly. Now apply common sense here. If I tell you that, okay, you have to select centroid. So the first question is how many centroid you are going to pick. So it depends on the K value. The number of cluster you need, which is equal to the number of centroid, will be, say I need 3 cluster. So there will be 3 centroid. So which portion you will take? So basically you will pick three random values like this. One value is from Setosa, one value is from versicolor, and one value is from virgin. So you will try to pick 3 centroid from 3 different types of flower. You will try to pick this one, but it's unlabeled data, means the last column is not there. So what we will do? So at that point of time, we don't know, we have to pick any value, just like this. This is your one centroid, this is your another one centroid, and this may be your another centroid. So picking centroid randomly, this is the first step of the K-means algorithm. And you know that whichever centroid you are picking, it may not be correct. So first thing, just make a note, choosing K value is also random. We don't know how many clusters should be there. And also picking up the centroid, it depends on the number of K value. So that's why the number of centroid we are choosing, it is also not correct initially. And also whichever points or whichever feature we are picking as a centroid, it is not also correct because we are choosing the centroid randomly. So basically the first step of the K-means algorithm is choosing the K value randomly and selecting the centroid value randomly, right? This is the first step. Now the second step of this algorithm, this is known as cluster assignment. So what do you mean by cluster assignment? So this cluster assignment step means this step involves going through each of the instances and assign that instances into the cluster centroid closest to it. Say this is your data point. These are the data values you are having. So you are picking these 3 points as a cluster, right? So in this step, what we will do, whichever points are remaining, we will take those points one by one and then we will measure the distance from this point from all the centroids. So if I am taking this value, then I will measure the distance of this value from this centroid, the distance of this value from this centroid, and distance of this point from this centroid. So whichever distance is less, I will assign that point near to that specific centroid. And in general, we will use Euclidean distance measurement. So what is this Euclidean distance measurement? I will tell you. So this is known as cluster assignment. Means after choosing the cluster centroids, whichever remaining points are there, we will pick the points one by one and find the distance from this point, distance of this point from the centroid, all the centroids that we have selected, and we will assign the point to that specific cluster whose distance is less. Means distance between the point and the centroid is less. So this is known as cluster assignment. This is your step number 2. Now we have step number 3, move centroid. This is the most important point you have to keep in mind. So at the initial state, I have explained that whenever you are selecting centroid for the first time, you are picking the centroid randomly from the dataset. It may not be correct. So we need some formula to find out the appropriate centroid. So at this point of time, K-means algorithm will provide you some calculation to move the centroid from the initial position. So what will happen? Whichever points are selected at centroid initially, by using this formula of moving centroid, Now other points will be selected as centroid. Now try to understand, when the centroid position changes, so these are the initial centroid. After applying this formula, the centroid position changes. So what will happen? Again, what we have to do? Again, we have to consider rest of the points, and we have to find out the distance of the points from all this centroid. Then we have to perform again reassignment, right? So changing the centroid will result in change the position of the data points. So again, these data points will be reassigned. Say initially this data point is closer to this centroid. So after changing the position, say this centroid become this one, and the distance this one is the closer one. So it may happen that this data point at the first iteration belongs to this cluster, but in the second iteration it belongs to this cluster. So by this mechanism, in each and every iteration, the centroid position will change, and accordingly we will find the distance of the data point from the centroid, and again the data points will also change and they will try to adjust. So now here the question is, okay, how many times this algorithm will be executing? So step number 4 is, so we have to repeat this step number 2 and step number 3 until the centroid stop changing. Try to understand. So whenever we are picking up the centroid randomly, afterwards we are assigning the data points closer to that centroid. Then we will change the centroid by using some formula. So we keep on applying this formula, then the centroid will be changing, and accordingly the data points will be changing because the distance is also changing. So at one point of time, what will happen, even if I am applying this algorithm, but whichever value of the centroid we have got, the position of the centroid is fixed, means it is not changing. Means say at the iteration number 4, whatever centroid value we have got, iteration number 5 we have got the same centroid value. Iteration number 6 we have got the same centroid value. It means now the position of the centroid are fixed. They are not going to change at all. So now whichever clustering we have got, these are the final clustering. So this is how the k-means clustering will work. So this is the basic mechanism. So basically step number 4 means we keep running the cluster assignment and move centroid steps until the cluster centroid stop changing. So at that point the data is deemed clustered, means we have got the final clustering. So these are the 4 basic steps of k-means clustering, the overview. So I think now you have got the idea how we have got this black dots. So whichever black dots is visible over here, they are final centroid. Means whichever centroid is picked up by this algorithm at the beginning of this algorithm while executing, those centroid will be changed internally, and in the output whatever black dots you will be able to see, these are the final fixed centroid. So whenever you are executing this algorithm in repeated number of times, this centroid will not going to change. Since the centroid is not going to change, so whichever dots are near to those centroids, their position will be fixed. So the cluster will be fixed. So from this we can say that this is the cluster of Setosa, this is the cluster of versicolor, and this is the cluster of virginica. So this is the basic concept that I was talking about. Every step will work internally, means whatever step I have explained, you have to, means you no need to understand these steps, because see here the algorithm is already written somewhere. I am just loading this one and I am just calling the algorithm. So what are the meaning of this parameter I will tell you, but see here you have no need to write the algorithm, and whatever lines I have written over here in order to display this one, we have performed this kind of plotting, right? Basically you don't have to write the algorithm. So whatever part I have explained in details, they are needed to understand the output only. So that's why we prefer Python language very well, because no need to code this one. But when I started my career in machine learning, say in 2009, what happens, I have written this code in C programming language. If you want to see, or you can search in Google that K-means clustering algorithm in C, you will find this algorithm where you have to design each and every line for this, for that algorithm in case of C programming language. So nowadays it will become very easy to design K-means clustering algorithm. So I'm just going to share one good project idea. That is, in 2012, I have created one project on medical data analysis with this K-means clustering algorithm, where students uses this algorithm, means they have designed this algorithm using C programming language. So it was very difficult because we have some very much critical formula over here that we have to write in C programming. But at that point of time, we don't have the concept of Python. So that's why now this data analysis and machine learning will become very much easy. But when I started this one, we have to design each and every line, and it will be a very difficult one. Try to understand, there is one very much important concept in case of any machine learning algorithm. That part is known as convergence criteria. Convergence means whichever output you have got, it is not changing anymore in further iterations. Means, try to understand, for each and every machine learning algorithm, whichever output you are getting in first iteration, it will be altered in second iteration, it will be altered in third iteration. So this is the randomness that we have in machine learning algorithm. Since K-means clustering algorithm is also a part of machine learning algorithm, so we have this kind of behavior. Means, first we choose the centroid, then this centroid is selected randomly. So this is not accurate. So after selecting this one, we have to apply some centroid selection formula. So while using this formula, if these are the initial centroid we have got with this algorithm, and these are the points that have created cluster, so in the next iteration, iteration number 2, what will happen? The position of the centroid will be altered. If the position of the centroid changes, then the data points will again try to find out which cluster, which centroid position is nearer to them. So accordingly, the data point will be changed. It may happen that this data point initially belongs to this cluster, but now whenever this centroid changes, now it is a part of this cluster, because now this is the current position. So now the change in cluster, now in the third iteration, what will happen? Again, I will use this formula, and the cluster position will change like this. So accordingly, again the position of the data points will change according to the distance. So at one point of time, at certain iteration, what will happen? Whatever position we have got for the centroid, they are not going to alter. It is fixed. Say at the fourth iteration, I have got this blue centroid. In the fifth position, whenever I am applying, at the fifth iteration, whenever I am applying this formula, so this centroid will become fixed. The position of the centroid will become fixed over here. It is not changing. So if I keep on iterating my algorithm for 6th or 7th or 8th time, the position of the centroid will be fixed. So it means my algorithm converges. So whichever position we have got as a centroid position, this is the correct one, and whichever partition we have got, data partition, data clusters we have got, these are the correct one. So then your algorithm will result in, okay, you have 3 clusters with 3 centroid, and these are the data points that you are expecting. So these are the 3 groups that you are having. So this is the meaning of this fourth line, that this centroid position will be fixed at certain point of time. If it is not fixed, we have to keep on iterating this step number 2 and 3. We have to assign the data points, we have to change the cluster, we have to change the centroid. Again, we have to change the centroid, and we have to assign the data points. So we will iterate this step number 2 or 3. So this is the meaning of step number 4. In Python, see, you don't have to manually iterate it. So whenever you are using this algorithm, whenever you're calling this one, everything is there. So everything, the looping concept, everything is there in the coding. So that's why we will decode this codes in the next day. So I think, Mosumi, you are talking about that we have to write the loops and everything. See, it is possible only if you are working on C programming language. So for Python, everything is written in terms of library and you have to just invoke it. Then it will accordingly adjust. So whichever parameter we are using, actually, they are help us iterating everything. So we have to decode the meaning of this parameter. Then only you will be able to understand. But one thing you are getting, so whenever you see this one, and you will be able to understand, these are the slicing concept, right? So actually everything is there. Means whenever you are calling the library and setting up these parameters, then everything is happening inside. So what happens in machine learning training, they are explaining the code, but they are not explaining the algorithm. So explaining the code part is very easy, because if you go and type this one in Google, they will tell you what is the meaning of this keyword, what is the meaning of this keyword, but they will never tell you that details of this algorithm. And if you don't know the details of this algorithm, see, this thing we are going to do, we will do some digit kind of classification, then we will learn PCA, it's another dimension reduction technique, and then we will perform digit classification. Means we have handwritten digits from 0 to 9, and see, you will find we have 0 to 9 number of clusters. This white are the centroid, cluster centroids, and whatever groups they are forming, say black dots over here, means all are the handwritten ones are kept together, all handwritten twos are kept together in one centroid, all our handwritten threes are kept together in one centroid, because segregating handwritten digits are very much difficult, because a handwritten digit, I can write one like this, I can write one like this, I can write one like this. So whatever kind of handwritten ones are there, they will be grouped together in one cluster. Then we have different patterns of 2 also. So all those handwritten digits. So K-means clustering has a good application in handwritten digit classification also. And see how many clusters we have. If we have 0 to 9, these are the number of digits, then we will have same number of centroids over here. So this is another good application that we will do. And see, we have a very good color over here. Separate clusters will have separate colors. So we will perform everything, but before that we have to understand this concept of PCA also. So I have learned this data visualization recently, 2 years back. That is, this is known as Andrew graph. This is a beautiful kind of visualization, and you never find this kind of visualization anywhere. See, the beauty of Andrew curve is, with this visual color effect, you will be able to find out 3 specific groups of this Irish Setosa versicolor and virginica. And this visual effect is very much good in displaying the different kind of clusters which are available. So for data analysis, in data visualization purpose, you can use this Andrew curve. It's a beautiful curve which is used on labeled dataset to classify how many separate species are there. You can try this one. It's a very small code, and I think you are able to understand what is this code is all about. So for Andrew curve, this is the library that we have to use, pandas.plotting, and we have to import the curve Andrew curve. And here what I am doing, I am just using the column name under which we have the names Setosa versicolor and virginica. This is a column name. If your column name is variety, just write it variety. If your column name is species, just write the column name over here. And what is this axis and ID? See, this part, actually I am working on this data set. So in this data set, you have one ID part. So that's why I have used this one. just a minute. So that's why I have used this one, this ID part. So this part is not important, means this ID part is not important, so I have dropped this one. If your dataset is not having the ID part, straight away just write this one, Andrew curve axis equal to 1, and then name of the attribute. Okay, and then plot dot show. So it's a simple, you can use this code, but the visual effect of this Andrew curve is very much important. You can use it anywhere.